conflating those two things. And that's actually that's what Bitcoin's repricing.
Yeah.
Repricing all of that nonsense because it doesn't care. Every 10 minutes, new block. It doesn't care. It doesn't care what Powell says.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what Trump says. Doesn't care what Xi says. It doesn't care.
I love this website called Priced in Bitcoin.
Yeah, totally.
And it just shows you just like everything goes down.
Energy prices, gas prices, food prices, all prices. Why would that happen? Because the natural state of the free market is deflation.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is pricing it perfectly.
Yeah.
First global free. You're a Bitcoiner that prices in the fiat system. You think Bitcoin's going up, and from your perspective, it is going up. You're likely to centralize your coins. You're likely to take more risk. But for you, you're making more money. Your asset is going up. You think it's only an asset. Your asset is going up faster than other assets.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, you're right too.
As inflation rises and central banks fight to keep inflation under control, tensions in the global financial system are at an all-time high right now. In the meantime, governments and individual investors throughout the world are taking notice of Bitcoin, which is trading close to $130,000. Jeff Booth is back with a stark warning. The fiat monetary system is not only on the verge of collapsing, it is already happening. Booth explains in this new interview why the present economic system is mathematically dead and how Bitcoin is the only practical way out. However, he also raises the alarm. Significant institutions are subtly attempting to regulate Bitcoin. Booth shows why Bitcoin is more than simply an investment. It's a survival tool for both individuals and nations, as AI, deflation, and exponential technologies are upending entire industries. He shares his updated prediction for Bitcoin and explains why we might witness an unparalleled surge in adoption in the coming months as capital starts to shift away from traditional assets. If you're intrigued by bold predictions and deep financial insights, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more engaging content. Thank you for your support and enjoy the video.
But it's a lot deeper than that.
It's so much deeper.
You've said Bitcoin fails if it doesn't become a medium of exchange.
Yeah.
What do you mean by that?
So we already talked a little bit about it. If people are centralizing and it's the medium of exchange is in the fiat currency, then it has to fail because they're trusting it like they trusted gold only, and gold failed. So we know for sure that if nobody's running nose spending in it, if you're spending in the centralizing currency, and that centralizing currency is based on theft, then you're part of the theft.
Yeah.
You're part of that economic system that has to centralize further. You might get rich in it, but it has to centralize further. Whereas if you're spending in the network protocol that's not part of that system, you're part of the first global free market that's ever existed.
Gotcha.
The systems are incompatible together. So that would make perfect sense. The IMF, which is largely controlled by the US, World Bank, and everyone else, if that was the system that they wanted, or let's not say certain people in parts of the government or organization wanted, it would make perfect sense that this couldn't be a currency. Perfect sense. And you would do everything possible to slow it down from being a currency, including co-opting it and making the rails of your currency easier to transact into it. Your currency being tether or equivalent or stable coin. Because what is a stable coin? It's a guaranteed loss coin. The stable coin gives 10 to 100 times better than those people's currency. Those people have always wanted US currency because it is relative to their currency. It doesn't lose money as fast.
Yeah.
So it still loses money, but it doesn't lose as fast. And now we talk about perception, right? We talk about an understanding of a system change. Of course, they're going to move to stable coins because they have something that's better than this. And at the same time, 5 years ago, Bitcoin couldn't really act as a medium of exchange. It's now being able to act as a medium of exchange. So stablecoins had an advantage there, and they had a perception advantage with a lot of people in third world nations that wanted the US dollar.
Yeah.
So it would be natural that would happen. The question is, if it's only that, then you have two different systems. That system is a centralizing system. It has to extract more and more and more. A lot of people inside it are going to get hurt eventually, and it's how many people move their time and energy to Bitcoin.
And the academics and the economists, they would make the argument that inflation is necessary because if without inflation, people wouldn't spend, governments wouldn't be able to, pay their obligations. What would be your arguments against that?
Yeah, so let's break those down one at a time. So people wouldn't spend. So let's look at the counter argument. So your TVs, your computer equipment, anything with Moore's law attached to it falls in price each year, or you gain more value each year. Do you still buy a phone each year or every 2 years, even though you know 2 years later you're going to have a better phone? Answer is yes. Right?
Yeah.
Do you still buy food? Answer is yes. Would you still buy food? Answer is yes. There's so many different things that you would still buy. And by the way, that argument with those things also assumes monetary pricing increase in those things. Those things would be far cheaper, but you would still buy.
Yeah.
We don't buy because the counter argument to that, if we go one step deeper, would be the only reason you buy is because if you don't, we'll steal your money. Because that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
If we don't have an inflationary rate, people won't buy.
Which is absolutely ludicrous.
Just change those words. Just change those words. We have to steal people's money, otherwise they won't buy.
Yeah.
And we have to steal more and more of it to make them buy.
Yeah.
It seems like, why would you want to build a system based on that theft? All the economists are right from the perspective of the debt-based system would collapse if you allowed deflation. And if the money, so all money is loaned into existence. When you go to a bank and get a loan, that money is created out of thin air to give you a loan, so you have an interest rate on that loan. So if all of that money globally was paid back, there was no debt.
Yeah.
There'd be no money.
Yeah.
So you can see why, if you allowed deflation, where prices get cheaper and cheaper, that loan gets more and more expensive because you don't have the money to be able to service the loan, and that liquidates that entire debt stack. So the economists are right from the perspective of a credit-based economy requires inflation to survive. But they're conflating, do we require a credit-based economy?
Or do they need?
Do they need? Or does that system need it? That system absolutely requires it.
According to Jeff Booth, Bitcoin's adventure is just getting started. He draws a comparison between the early days of Bitcoin and the current surge in attention and investment. He notes that BlackRock's recent entry into the Bitcoin space is revolutionary and will affect the cryptocurrency sector as a whole. Booth anticipates that when more institutional capital enters the market, the price of Bitcoin will rise significantly, much like it did in the early months of last year. He stresses that the financial system is undergoing a significant change. Bitcoin's acceptance is expanding more quickly than ever before as governments, significant organizations, and even the mainstream media finally see its potential. To remain up to date on the most recent developments in Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and the digital economy, please take a moment to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable post notifications.
That system is incompatible with the free market.
And that's why it requires coercion in order to continue happening. And that's why the coercion will just continue to increase and increase and increase.
And all of those things are centralization.
Yeah.
Right. All of those things create more and more the little companies can't survive.
Yeah.
The little banks can't survive because it has to be centralized more and more over time. It is not a free market. It's the opposite of a free market. It has to misallocate capital. It has to, mathematically has to, government has to get bigger, because you're usurping the free market.
Yeah.
And as you do, and those people can't live freely and have great ideas that contribute to other people in society, the centralized market has to tell them what to do. Yeah. So it has to be manipulation, coercion, control everywhere in that system. And there's so much noise around conflating those two things. And that's actually what Bitcoin's repricing.
Yeah.
Repricing all of that nonsense, because it doesn't care. Every 10 minutes, new block. It doesn't care. It doesn't care what Powell says.
Yeah.
It doesn't care what Trump says. Doesn't care what Xi says. It doesn't care.
I love this website called Priced in Bitcoin.
Yeah, totally.
And it just shows you just like everything goes down.
Energy prices, house prices, food prices, all prices. Why would that happen? Because the natural state of the free market is deflation.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin is pricing it perfectly.
Yeah.
First global free. And so now let's say you're three different buckets of people. One, you're you and I, we price in Bitcoin. Yeah. And many other Bitcoiners that understand this at this end. We price in Bitcoin, we spend all our time in Bitcoin, we spend as much time as we can in it, we contribute our time to this new global system. What would our lives look like? Direct response of this competitive, it would be a mirror image.
Yeah.
The more time you spent, it would get better and better in that system. You're a Bitcoiner that prices in the fiat system. You think Bitcoin's going up, and from your perspective, it is going up. You're likely to centralize your coins. You're likely to take more risk. But for you, you're making more money. Your asset is going up. You think it's only an asset. Your asset is going up faster than other assets.
Yeah.
And from your perspective, you're right too. You're not in Bitcoin at all. You're in this camp, the middle camp that's pricing Bitcoin. You're not in Bitcoin at all. Your government is telling you that those big monopolies are stealing your money and you need to vote for me.
Yeah.
You're right too. And you're getting destroyed over and over and over again. Or you're on the other side of that, and you think it's the socialists, and you're on the technocrat side that's transferring more power control. You're right too. That's what. So from your perspective on this system, all would exist.
What about the Bitcoin scaling? Vast majority of people won't be able to transact on the main chain.
So one of the words I use is open, decentralized, secure protocol bounded by money or by energy. So if you use the word protocol, technologies are winner take most, protocols are winner take all. It's really important. Open protocols win. And we saw that the last protocol anybody knows about, probably before electricity, would be the internet, and it comes in layers, right? And so the internet all around the globe, you have a choice to be on it or off of it. North Korea is off of it, right? Their citizens can't get on it. Look at what happens to the country. Even if you're in China behind the Great Firewall and you run a VPN, you can have all of the internet. Nobody can stop it. So, but how did it emerge? It came in layers.
Yeah.
The first layer was by DARPA in the late 60s.
Yeah.
And to Tim Berners-Lee in 1989. It took 20 years of layers to be able to build the internet. And then all of the innovation that happened on top of that took another, call it 20 years. Just about everything we do is on top of that protocol. Protocol today. And most people, when they're talking about Bitcoin today, they're talking about Bitcoin like it emerged in 1989. Right? Okay. And they're comparing it to the internet.
You think that's where we are in Bitcoin?
No. When I'm talking about Bitcoin, I'm talking about where we were in 1969.
Right now?
No. The Bitcoin that you know that most people are talking about as a store of value is the first layer of the protocol.
Okay.
TCP/IP.
Yeah.
Jeff Booth leaves us with a profound message. Most people aren't even aware that a huge change is about to occur in the globe. He contends that the foundation of our current economy is precarious. It is based on centralized control, continuous borrowing, and structures that harm freedom and innovation while benefiting the powerful. Control over our lives will only grow as this system grows more precarious through monetary manipulation, government requirements, and competition suppression. However, Booth claims that Bitcoin provides a solution. It is more than just a digital money. It is the cornerstone of a brand new economic structure that operates without the need for coercion or force. A real free market where value is maintained, innovation is rewarded, and power is distributed, is reflected in Bitcoin. It is indifferent to economic propaganda and political myths. It runs impartially and autonomously every 10 minutes, much like clockwork. Booth encourages us to recognize our current position on our voyage. The development of the internet took decades, and Bitcoin is still in its infancy, or what he refers to as the 1969 phase. Although the infrastructure is still in the early stages of development, it has immense potential. Additionally, Booth thinks that Bitcoin will gradually change money, markets, and individual freedom, much like the internet changed the world. Booth's message is obvious regardless of whether you're all in or half in or still on the sidelines. The outdated system is failing on its own. Choosing to stick with that system or switch to a new open protocol designed for the future is the decision at hand. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and enable notifications if you thought his viewpoint was helpful so you don't miss any updates. We'd love to know what you think about the future of cryptocurrency markets, so please share your ideas in the comments section. We appreciate your time and hope to see you in the next video.